already be in the feeders when the chicks arrive, not more than 24 hours, otherwise it's can get too old and won't like it anymore. For easy accessibility, you can use chick paper. So chick paper, you use it under the drinkers, if you have a drinker line, and you can put feet on it. And the chicks, they will walk over the paper, and it will make a sound that they really like. So they're curious, and they want to explore what is going on, and then they find the feed and water. And in that way, you really stimulate that first feed and water intake. Also, it absorbs any moisture and feces from the birds, and it degrades into the litter, so you don't have to take it out. It stimulates feed intake, stimulates water intake, and it will help with the contamination because it takes up all the moisture. So we look at the development of the pullet. You can see over time, the dotted line is the growth line per week. So in the beginning, they grow really fast and then it declines afterwards. They are still growing, but it goes less fast. The body weight, of course, goes up in time. And we can see in the beginning, they will have the digestive development and the immunity development. Later in life, in the grower phase, they have the skeletal development and the muscular development. And right before lay, they start the reproductive development. So if you look at the first week, it's only this little part. You can see they don't have digestive and immunity development yet. So they rely on the yolk sac absorption. In the egg, they have the yolk sac with them, absorb it into the abdomen. And that is why they have the first week, they have the energy from the yolk, the nutrients for their initial growth, maternal antibodies. But it's only a little bit, so we want to make sure they have the feed and water as fast as possible, so they can develop their own digestive tract development and their own immunity. So in the starter, this is the second part, the digestive development is really important. If we support the digestive tract development, they can take up all the nutrients later in life that they need for egg production. So, the starter phase lays the foundation for uniform growth later in life, and also high production. So when the chicks arrive, they may have received a range of treatments in the hatchery and they may have a longer transport time. They can be exhausted when they arrive on the farm, and that is why you should remove the chicks from the boxes as soon as possible. And this is to prevent dehydration and overheating. Also, for the first 3 days, it's good to have artificial lighting on for 20 to 23 hours per day, and it should be on 30 to 50 lux. So when the chicks arrive, you can assess their quality to know what you received. So after their first, they first can lay down and take some more energy, and afterwards they should be alert and active. Their body weight should be like 43 grams. The eyes should be clean, open with and their navel should be closed. You can see in the right picture, the upper one is closed and it's very clean, but the other ones are not closed yet. And that means that they have a direct pathway for bacteria to enter the body. The temperature when they were in their eggs. Also, you should not be able to see the veins on their legs, because that means they are dehydrated and they have at a too high temperature. So if you have assessed the quality of your chicks, what can you do with that? Well, if you receive lower quality chicks, you should take your time for extra attention. You should spend all your time taking care of those lower quality chicks. You can increase the temperature. Instead of 34 degrees, you can put it to 36 degrees Celsius. You should place extra feeders and drinkers in the house. So instead of putting 1 meter, want to place extra feeders and drinkers. So it's really easy for them to find the feed and water. You can also extend the pre-starter phase. So maybe you have our Champrix Napo pre-starter feed, and you can feed it 5 or 7 days. But if you have lower quality chicks, you can feed it for 8 or 9 days. That will help them in their initial growth. You can also assess the crop fill. So when they are on your farm, 2 hours after placement, 75% of the chicks should have found water and feed. And it will go up in time. And after 24 hours, all the chicks should have found water and feed. So if you feel the crop and it is full, soft and rounded, then it means they have found feed and water, which is a really good sign. If it's full but it's hard and you can really feel the feed in it, that means they have found feed but not water yet. So then you can look at your water management. Should I place more water? Is there something wrong with the water? If it's empty, they did not eat and drink at all. So if you put the chicks in the brooder, you can assess the temperature by the behavior of the chicks. So if they behave like in the picture, they are everywhere, that means that the climate is good. But if it's too cold, they will all go to the heating source. They will all find the heat. That means that it's too cold. When it's too drafty, or it means that they, like the upper right picture, they all go to one place. And they huddle together, and that's because they don't want to be in the draft. If it's too hot, they will all go to the sides. They will find less hot places. And if the influence of bright light or draft noise, then they will also go to one side. So body weight is really important for pullets. You should always weigh your pullets. The target body weight you can find in the breeder's guideline. So for example, if you have Hubbards, you can Google the Hubbards management guide, and you will see exactly what their guide weight will be. So for Highline, it's like 500 grams at 6 weeks. Of Isa Brown is 450 grams. So it's really dependent on the breed. So follow the weight every day in the first week. And then after that, minimum twice per week. And write down the weight or put it in the 123 Poultry app and weigh at a similar time of the day. It's also important to take random samples and use a catching frame, because if you're not using a catching frame, you're always gonna catch the slower birds. Then you can compare the weights with the breeder's guideline, and then you know whether you're on track or not. If they are too low in weight, you can place extra feeders, and if they are too high, it's not needed to place extra feeders. If we look at the grower phase, they will start their skeletal and their muscular development. This lays the foundation for a strong hen. If you have a growth delay, you can keep feeding the starter feed for a longer time period. Uniformity is really important in this phase. So keep track of your body weight and compare to the breeder guidelines as well in this phase. What is uniformity? And how do we manage it? So uniformity is a similar body weight and development among all birds. We have good uniformity, the management will be much easier. And they will be ready for egg production at the same time. How can you improve uniformity? Always use the same genetics. Because as we saw, the growth can be different among different breeds. Start with good quality chicks and avoid overcrowding. Also ensure even feed intake. So every side of the house should have had the same accessibility to feed and water. Provide unlimited access to feed and water and perform accurate beak trimming if applicable. So in Europe, we don't do beak trimming, but I've seen here a lot of farms, they do beak trimming. And it can be a really good way to avoid feather packing. But if you do it too short, then the beak will be really sensitive and that bird might not eat as much as the other ones. So, and also reduce stress and disease pressure. If we look at the developer phase, there is a steady skeletal and muscle development, and they continue building the frame and strength. So a healthy skeleton is of extra importance because calcium is mobilized later from the bones during production. There is a delay in reproductive activity because we want that steady growth in this period. We don't want them yet to lay eggs. This is also the time where you should transform to the laying house 2 weeks before production starts. Also in this phase, you should keep track of the body weights and compare it to the breeder guidelines. Because this is the last moment where you can do something about the body weight before they have the age of start of production. So the pre-layer phase is the 2 weeks before they start laying. It prepares the pullet for a laying phase by increasing the calcium level. At the end, they should have reached the sexual maturity, so they are ready for egg production. You can stimulate the egg production by increasing the daylight, but you can only do this if their body weight is high enough, over 1.4 kilograms. So here you can see the importance of calcium. When it is absorbed in the intestines, it goes to the blood and they can build bones from it. But they can also deconstruct the bones and take the calcium for their eggshell production. So if there's not enough calcium in the blood, you will have bone issues and soft eggshells. The signs of sexual maturity are increased in comb and wattle size. They are also more red than the pullets. They make a special cackle sound, and they have an enlarged vent and abdomen. So when they start laying, you all want them to start laying at the same time. You can have delaying factors like slow growth. It delays the first egg production. Also, management issues in the first week or any diseases in the pullet phase, they delay egg production. Heat stress and coccidiosis and also problems with the feet will delay egg production. You also have accelerating factors. Rapid growth leads to an earlier egg production. An increase in day length stimulates the onset of production because then they think it's spring because the days get longer and then it's a natural rhythm for them to start laying the eggs. So manage proper body weight and flock uniformity and stimulate the day length with artificial light at the correct time. When you have a too early start of egg production, you might think, oh, I already make eggs. But no. The eggs will be too small and you will have a lower egg production later in life. Also, you will have higher mortality and bone and skeletal developments because the body is not ready yet to lay the eggs. So here you can see if they already start laying at 15 weeks, you might have more production in this period, but later you will all lose those eggs. So only when they are 17, 18 weeks old and they have the proper body weight, that's the right time to start laying the eggs. And this is the natural rhythm for egg production. So it will always go up first and decline later in life. And that's just a normal rhythm. It's biological, determined like this. So if you're not high enough at this point, you can never reach that point anymore. So light management, I already mentioned it a few times, it has 3 phases. So at the beginning we want 23 hours of light for the new pullets. And then we have a period of continuous or decreasing light period. And then you can increase the light period to stimulate the egg production. An increase in light period, it mimics spring, when the birds naturally lay their eggs. You can do that by turning the lights on if you have it, and it's really good to invest in lights at your farm. You can turn it on for 30 to 60 minutes extra per week to stimulate the onset of production. So then it will look like this. In the beginning you have the high, you put the lights on for 23 hours a day, and it will decrease over time. And then when they are 7 to 17 weeks old, they will have the continuous light. So here, because you are close to the equator, you have almost 12 hours of light per day. So this says 10, but 12 is also good. Then if they reach the proper age and the proper body weight for laying, you can put on the lights for 30 to 60 minutes extra per day, as you can see over there, until a maximum of 16 hours per day. And that will increase the production. So as I said, you are close to the equator, so there is no big difference in natural light here. Almost have 12 hours, and it's really easy then to put on a light after sunset to increase the day length. Then we have our own platform, 123 Poultry. And it's an app where you can put in all your farm data, like growth, but also feeding costs. And that supports you in decision making based on your own farm. You can keep track of all your data. So a little summary about what we have just learned. Good pullet management results in healthy, strong and uniform birds. It makes them ready for long-term performance. Prepare your birds before arrival by the correct downtime, correct temperature, number of feeders and drinkers. You can assess the chick quality and then apply the best management for the first week. Always stimulate feed and water intake as quickly as possible. And weigh your pullets and compare them to the breeder's guidelines. Only then you know whether you are on track or not. Uniform flocks are easier to manage and have a higher production. And too early start of production will result in lower lifetime egg production, and it can be reversed. The right body weight and light stimulation controls the start of egg production. Do you have any questions? Please, a round of applause for Larissa. And the oppressor walking and said, and go on, send you a show, and son of my colleague and the grand, send you a show for the father, a moon yapa. If I saw one who can mamma, here we are. What was up now, my dear, don't come from the one. Then they slice, no. Ebentus no, and I'm my woman, I'm so. We don't send me a message, me and another Santa messenger. Before this slice now, you should you just pay attention, slice in the bedroom. And he and go on more different faces. You are their friendly pre starter, on mobile. And you was starting 33 1 week copying 6 weeks. And I will grow up. If he says he's copying 10 weeks, develop a 10 weeks copying 16.
and you play on 16 hours of production, best at up to 5% production. You say around 80 weeks. Any day in that. 18 the other change and say, young fan fra, young fan blue again, and come up player, and you have a player again come up your starter. 2 weeks now. Boom said, young one according to that. And then I said, I can't say, what about when I first saw I prepare. That be 2 weeks or 3 weeks before some point ban. Why of this infection, decontamination, be come. West period so that's never West period so I'm now I come. And temperature here will be going. I was said, 34 degrees. And this is a bros, and yes, I almost said, we hitting Kokon. Kokon to hit bombs, I was on one abuasa. Anna, what if you begin 1 meter of everything? Into insurance, you saw so many doors. Send you that and I've got 50 beer you should drink about now. 40 beer you should feed about. Into where is I was said a show be answer. Anna, drink as if it has no so, we make sure so we clean. I know I can say, we prepare feeders near less than 24 hours before arrival. Yes, I'm going to be good from where we are. Son and I did any issue with Sibu. Was there any issue? A good man, son, Coconaba. I'm just going to Aduane ho asem ye kan no o se be aduane na e easy akọ no betimi anu nsuo na wa didi go back to the and movement point ya say wo hwa se na akọ ni si nyini fam ana ya de pepepe enti akọkọ no go back enti akọkọ no ne nsuo no ni nyini no most happy within oba foforo na kopin be 8 weeks no e na nsuo ni nyini nti oba foforo no anhwe ni ya nsuo ni ntimi nyini ye nsuo ni na GIT ni ntimi nyini ye what happens necessary nyini ya onyi na ma na biane sente o ma na vitamins de o ma na antibiotics de ya akoko no absorption e be always problem for them and immunity no so the first 4 weeks no e hia pa ni na oba e ka vaccination make sure so oba o first one there emfe ni agro we make sure so be ana bia mfa mko no so mo kire se o ma ye bia no mo nye bia ni so ansa na wo kwa hase a ne nka se e free 6 weeks be 4 weeks e kwa ko si be 60 hon na wana ne nka se ne na ne yi ni nyina ye de enyi ni ti free o ko no so go se feed ye ya the shells e ka on ana da calcium ana mo calcium e bi mo kra de o shelf fra and son of Munya Bear 14, 12, Kona, so Umudi Bear 25. Now, hopefully, you won't say, or more, I know the two Koshiano, and when I know abdominal fat, and when I know more, I started putting on Sadia Kakra to protect the organs near you. See, a training, I said, stage beer with here. Why, how I said, or Musa may bomb a broker, Munya, a moment, Yania, but when I say, all that is not any year, and every film I year. Both are also doing no one can say the name, or Mubikino, in my embrace. The Indian stage being here, I don't know why I have seen. I guess let's before. I don't know why I am saying to I don't know actually to the moon. It's a man, all the blood digestive tract and immunity. The first, anything that here pass on about, we don't want to place that as we say, feed soon after mama, or say the protein in it, energy levels, no so come, I know I travel. I don't know about a tidy glucose. To so 5 days, then we call that glucose. We better use sac infection because of half of now, first week, now, the man, you know, the man, can crowd until so absorb it. You also have none of the Bay or the Bay energy. The man, antibodies can crash over. It is some supplementing with glucose. We have almost said, no, mention. Now, I can't also pay, better use sac infection. And see, you can't be one of that digestive tract, first 6 weeks. And first 3 days from the bank, light, I was say for minimum 23 hours. Another like 23 hours. Get 23 hours, then 24 hours. They say you have to start training them. Say they will assume that from day one, according to the Bruni ne kan no ba Ghana de for 24 enti ta ko ne ba ne ma wo behwe no se quality na bi nie akoko na so mo yɛ active na mo yɛ alert wo bro bo no so tu so mo mu bi o mo ko ba o mo didi ana akoko ne ba ne mu do no so wo se wo no ma se wo fa akoko 1000 e bia basket box for anasa basket ba ku bia no wo yi nkoko ba mienu na de o ma 6 kills no awe o mo so mo do 42 and 44 grams na o so o mani no so no ɛno no yɛ clear wo hwɛ n'ani na n'ani timi ɛkɔba ana na fuma no so no sɛ ya show ha sɛ na fuma no so sɛ awo ti wo kwana na fuma no wo ya akɔfa akɔfa first thing bia afa no na wo so hwɛ sa de na fuma no wo ya hɔ na ne nipa naka na so ɔbɛte afuma na so nti because akɔkɔ no most yo medu fam ko ɔmu obi ayɛ madan ti fam bia madan si sɛ akɔkɔ bia na fuma no wo bia ɔde du fam wacha na 5 days ana temperature na de what the thermometer share the tour say na what the temperature number 40 degrees na say you okay ana ni kotodwe no ebi say yan kokon ni kokon no form a wo hwa mo say ni kotodwe ni say o say ya kama kokon bia ni hono ana eni say o ma ye dehydrated because of the end let's go back no go back leaders they come and say they go for it and ti kokon so fa no na say obo kase na so mo ye no mo nya ne kama na kokon no mo timi nya uniform a enka say o ma tra 1 week ti free starter no on to aso it me extend for 10 days it me 8 days ni become senior uniformity ni bebem obo ba mu na o mo ye kama sa na o mu go to the next phase ana so the chere ne sa kokon no mo ba foforo na first 2 hours no o sample bia o say 75% of them o what say biane wo mo crop ni e say kokon no mu didi I'm going to do the 12 hours, they don't say 85%, and 2 5 10. Now, some poor man was saying 80 there, and then one a crop. Within 24 hours, I'm going to be able to find the hour. Say, where did you? Let's go for it. Then he hits now, when you say that here, and then say, in Dada. Say, you good at once a cook or my disperse, come, for fair say. It's now wedding, and I didn't go and I be here. We also want to go one side is her. Because if I didn't feel maybe I didn't feel when to move, and if you didn't light and wedding. So we on my issue, you know, take your light and wedding, and also move and if you light. The when you swim, you know, especially you shoot pots, you know, clay pots. Other period, yeah, we went to Japan, no hitting it in Kobuni. Now, pots now can say, absorb hitting. We understand, most of Kokonoma Ben pot in Musepan. And as a Jarosano at the almost of my uncle to the farm, position a boning change. And tell them kind, a light in a swallow idea, especially if you feel read the name, God's good idea, you suppose it, Kokona Kubu answer. 80 target weight at 6 weeks. One my example, be the say highline, Isa Brown. Because the highline, mood, Isa no, 450, moon visa. Until Google breed, Bian, and you will say the city of Valentino. You have far Boban weight, if I'm going to check it, Isa Brown for a weight. But I say, I say, you will follow what the feed in the cheese. And now, 6 weeks to 10 weeks in the summer. We are trying to say American can want some that I want more muscles no one can say in uniformity is I can't want that and go on moon or say almost sizes no more thing I yes our corners will say to get you man you move over to the next stage good you know no action and how to improve uniformity no and go on here and found frafra to say the difference because the more do change you know I saw brand new over name highline and looking in our frafra. Both of them could use one have some uniform by 10 cents. You go no format, so batch all farm, if you show all for few one place. Anna, go back. Good quality, they can't come and avoid overcrowding. Go on the doors to change. Leaders never get an answer, or doors to change in blue man. Most of you and then need to change you. The women you need most of the money you change, you may also I am a kind of some more another. Anna, oh, sure, even feeding take and getting I didn't show you in the council. Anna perform a pretty big training if applicable. I say in India, whatever share after 6 weeks in the say. Mary Rose, please turn on the fan for us. Also, fan my answer high. First 4 weeks, no, and our first 5 weeks, no, you see a live vaccines. It's a live vaccines I can't farm because who they are going to say boomer at Sima, do the Dokuno. The big in it me and Kunkoko, or want to be someone could do so. Into no, who better the big in now, advice I will say after 6 weeks, and I reduce stress and disease pressure. Okay. I say you develop 10 weeks to 16 weeks. I want you to get a and go come. Oh, yeah, into Usha, especially among about saying, we're going to do 10 weeks here to Jai Sofa. Young person push on the bed and a shit. Who do 10 weeks and really go on, Obana, the time I got to say, Jama. Didn't I say, if you 10 weeks, you come on after say, as you saw Mukosia. You come out quite as a with your sofa. I bet you what a chicken who is better 50 weeks, 16 on Mukosia, 18, 9 young Mukosia. Meaning I. So funny times you do as I was so maybe and now they man so woman develop and they tell say energy was so what you know so then when you know that she pusia I am I transfer flow to okay Timam better move go on it advice I would say go to some cold man but it depends on your farm anyhow I miss your farm I say so we here calcium no so over making sure say we do shells and answer we die calcium and answer you get from feed. And I keep track of body weight say let's do first. And I see pre-layer next say I'm gonna pay no well this 16 there but I pay no better start and I do that it must start to but only do 5% production. Nti I so over man ho aduane nti we hwa most pre-layer feed no say ebro no was so pa maybe 600 620. Ni nyina ne say aha no dika hye kosua no but to be say kosua mu ye du no nya more energy no what me releasing kosua no nya energy because laying na kasa na very stressful for nkokon. The woman a high energy diet say no nya body dey pian kosua no henti ana what I say asa na nkokon beto no so nya 1.4 kilos ti nkokon no hwe ma 15 weeks no mo do 1.2 1.3 last time Dr. Latwin I found put efficacy nkokon mo do 16 maybe weigh 830 grams. Is that I just about 25 weeks and some was at Tamakushi. He also got 1.4 kilos. No, I like it. When you can't come out, your channel said, Castle now, when you're feeling soon, and when been a bag, if you got the kidneys now, Buama, the insure one of the other movie, Castle our channels and Buama insure near a movie. Aha, with me. Johnson, so the villain of Johnson. In the outcome, fractal na back out. And when we saw this, I shall push our shells now. And then maybe saw the other castle. It is a cash on them, man. They tell us 3 places you may show in cash on the BF one that we push you. One with a bone, no. I will near you, you are the upper or the ever. It is a one time fish round, man. And she said, obey your free, casting the apple, and the casting into going to go and have over 1 week of so now. You can say, and you come back and and you better go on say, why, yeah, come on. Your better change and say, was only saying the comb and the wax on, and you come on. And I was say, also. And I was almost at the day, you do not want to do another day more. And I was saying, event, you know, the 2 pound, what was that? You at all, since we talk, I said to a home, son. It was that 2 hours, I said, it's a 2. Say about and about the farm. What it means is that it's not mature enough. See, yes, I have commitment to proceed me fast up a pine. I'm clear. Factors influencing this lesson. 23 BBC. Okay, factors influencing time of first production. Delay factors, the engine of to be changed in the set. Or when you're not yet fed. Or when you know what we say, man, you know, I will go 18, or shall it take the enemy soon? The body no be now what is akoko a friend or 10 weeks e be na American you go farm akoko no 16 weeks or 830 grams 830 grams o go be chira e dey say akoko afin o be 10 weeks and 10 weeks no say o say go nya 6 weeks come on or 2 e so 16 no 26 weeks ne kan one then 22 1 22 and some was at 10 kusia. You 25, now kusia. The moment some come management issue during first few weeks, and then the can come once. And I be stressed. How we get managing a hit in our family. And I proxy and tell you can come back for no mushroom money. Everything I proxy you stress making part and routine of your program. And as I said, 2 weeks plan abaya. 2 weeks plan abaya. Wow, 2 weeks plan abaya. Then you say, you can say, oh, the from more Hana, we feel problems. You go more to be there 8 weeks. I'm going to get the answer. No, but my shame be 1 day. No, we are more bro. Be 3 days. Be now. This kind of bad. I'm just feed that back. And the most important. I feel now about 10 weeks. No, we same question. Omo dia bro to aso be 4 days and sana e de yaba we are say one machine to almost so much and accelerating factors rapid growth leads to early phase production into your money come so most of percent but the you am ko for ma over 14 weeks no attack drop to share but do 1.4 kilos no nyoma nyina titi so ti guys and am go share antem and am so mundu be 19 20 no why 50%. Yes sir. Young company, no sir, but by the time we 30 weeks, now just only 95, 96. And our management strategy, manage proper body weight flow uniformity. And then you can one single day length. In the daylight, you know, artificial light, then you can about 16 hours of light. In the normal Africa, had mostly a fact because one part 8 now a higher badada. High and one put me quite go across 6 you me a high. Then I have you, but the others and show to town woman said, if you use sugar, yes, and now the light are support, saying that you get their 16 hours. And a too early start of. And I want that to tell my saying Christianity here at Ketua, Anna Christiano, Dodo and Society meeting. Higher mortality, bone and skeleton problems. Enti atone be question e kosorofa enti se omo it expected say omo started to be picking them omo picking them a mostly a drop faster and as omo start at the right time 16 to 18 now most omo picking were around 22 25 we should be around here you most say e be stabilize and san swag e be do 100 weeks now so be tell you say na say how much me are telling potential improvement? The lights in the brother, and now say we are listening to city into lights and I want some no baby. He said that here, go back. He said that here, then you can I'm about for now 23. Your mama was slicing into the money. They are calling 18, 16, 15, 13, and I said. Obama is na light no omo to ko echire no so na light no who say page by 100 days omo to ko echire na heat no e do so pizza the light say so so now we cause his stress for the best. Let's go for enti omo app bi your friend 123 Poultry obi abeti ma download the app no now the information go so e boa etin ma what say wadwan ska odi shem o fa mbonom you know we and yes 1 2 3 feed so we show some become one step and so to be the say aduane na bia woni wanya sogum bi free sogum bi afri bi won wo pese wo de flow aduane no wo de share app no ma now the quantities na e be say you na man say na time bia e be miti they required feeder in kokon ye dem ehia inyoma na o kan nya ne saminya ne say nkokon pullet management e huhia nkokon ba fofo na mo so hwe e huhia so anye ni ya though take about 20% of the whole time of the bed but that 20% out of the amount almost 100 weeks e be first 20 weeks no one hwe ni ya e got problems no and I be carry throughout so many 100 weeks no no na problems ana say me dika kan nkokon na e ba na go make sure say e go na yi na wa clean wa e bia kama unya at least 2 weeks before time. Now they are sharing what they do. Come, assess, check quality to apply the best management for them. And you, want to be a factory, so good near go make sure say, oh, go the right place. Vaccination is in your mouth. Recently, there are issues with some farmers are not winning marriage, and it was consistent. And so marriage no was not getting or hatching. You may say, "Cocoa, far, we say so when you will be our favorite player, more platforms, more should they be selling for far more hassle. And the one that platform of class, I had them in some of a big year. Now, what can one match? They found for her at the same. Now, Eddie, we are trying to say, dear, one of our services. What we have recent problems are, they are farmers bear more than 10 on way post mortem in our marriage. And I don't know, they realize some now for finding a baby bar. Yes, so my own share the farm condition. And I feed technically, they can't come once and go on the bar. Fair 2 hours, no, some from quarter, I was only 7 or what did you? They did 12 hours, they was only 8 30. At the end, she was up for the day of the one book. And right body weight and light stimulation. And also, you see, also making sure that we can time to can baby or man for some better to see. Only 1.4, that's a month to a day. I know it's a problem if you are before. But one complaint is on book on a month to near the banana for 16 weeks, no 830 grams. And yet, so we will pick questions and then second presentation. And then now you may 3 but because of time, you may 2 people.
Hello. I have a question. My question goes to Madam, or should I say, Ms. Marisa. As she is teaching a situation to ensure a very good quality of chicks, which avoid overcrowding. I think that maybe have a very big environment to contain them. What is it? Is it bad or good? This is all to hear. Okay, the question is, as you were teaching, you said that to ensure a very good chicks, quantity, which avoid overcrowding. So I think that which avoid overcrowding. I think that I have a very big environment to contain the chickens. Is it good or bad?
Yes, I know what that's called.
So you don't have the storage circle. About that? Today? The first week? Okay, when you have a small space, then they can get easily to the feed and water. So you don't have to put, maybe you don't have so much feeders and water. If they are small, you can put them in a small circle, and then they are very close to the feed and water, and they will grow fast. So it can be a good idea to put them in a smaller space instead of in the large house. That answer to your question? Yeah?
Hello. Okay. Accessibly large place will be like you are doing what we call it. I don't know how to. It's not expensive. Free range, that's the word, another word I'm missing. It's just like free range, and you will lose a lot of energy. You understand? It's there's a problem. And the space over here, because of our temperature, what I can say is that you measure this length, you measure this length. Assuming it is 20 by 20. If you do the multiplication, what do you get? 400 square. In a place, you can put 400 pairs inside, but over here the temperature is high. And when you put such a number there, it will be too much for the pairs. So you divide it by 1.5. So by dividing the 400 by 1.5, you see the number, you get the number of pairs that have to be kept in our place. If you put more feeders, better. That's to say, everybody will have access to the feed. But if it's excessively over, it will occupy the space of the place. So you go according to it, 40 of 40 birds for a feeder, as he said, and 50 for.
Please, the summary slide. Please, the summary slide. The last but one bullet. Too early start of production will result in lower lifetime egg production. It can't be reversed. How do we avoid that?
You want to have the bullets at the right way, at the right time. So if it's too early, that means that the bullets were too big when they and they have not reached the right age. So the age and the weight should be both good. If they are too big, they've grown too much, they are not mature yet, and they will have smaller and less eggs.
Okay, and your person change and say, anyone said to me, wonder sometimes it me, pushing Bokone Kakra. It's a more who push you on us or more a sibling man. I just said, yeah, and then they pick up the weight. Yeah, a woman understand. I must see them. You see them go drink them. You be I just say picking them, and then I want you be 60, 70, and I was expecting to meet me 85. There about most say I'm more different. The end of the penny said, was see them, you know. Most of calculation, 85. For the 85 name, my just the standard one. So now I'm going to see a new Kakra. Zana,
And also, if they have not reached the right age yet, and you start turning on the lights, and they will start laying while they are not the right age.
During the first period of the pullet age, you said that you shouldn't use one weight to classify all of them because we have different breeds, so we should go according to that. But during the period of pre-layer, it is stated that 1.4 kg. Does it cut across all breeds?
Yeah, that one is approximately. So it's best to always look at the breeder's guideline. Then you know exactly the right age. But for all layers, it's minimum 1.4.
Minimum 1.4. But Loman Classic has 1.3.
Yeah, that's possible too. It's approximately 1.4, but it's the best thing to do to look at the breeder. So it's really good of you that you know your own breed and you know the right way.
I said, must be a form of
Thank you very much. I want to find out, some of the new farmers, you hear other farmers saying that, no, you have to take the white ones, you have to take this breed, that one lays, this one doesn't lay enough. And I'm beginning to wonder, are all these management practices that you have taken us through, does it cut across all the various breeds? I haven't seen in your presentation any photo of the white one, all are brown. Does that mean that, in your approach, the white one can have a different reaction or a different performance as in comparison to these ones that are being discussed now? Then I also want, in terms of our climate, yes, are there some particular breeds that are well suited for the African terrain? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Today I explained really the basic development of layer hens. So that will be the same of all breeds. For example, the weight that we just talked about, they can be different between breeds. But the fact that they first start their immunity, they first start their digestive tract development, that is for all layers. Doesn't matter the breed. And the fact that they should find water and feed very early, it's for all breeds. So for these basics, it's for all, it's no difference in breeds. Yeah. And your second question, there are some breeds that do better in hot climates, but it's still, there is no bird that won't have heat stress with 35 degrees. So you have to always deal with the heat stress no matter what breed. So that's, it's a really good investment to have a lot of drinkers so they don't get dehydrated, to put on the fans, in the ventilation in the house. So that's for all breeds.
I'm dealing with turkey poults, and I noticed that by the second week they start growing lean and dying. How do I stimulate them to eat? Probably in the first week.
Turkeys?
Turkey.
Turkey, okay. And you feed special turkey feed or do you feed chicken feed?
I give them broiler and starter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So turkeys, they need a lot of protein, and that is why you want special turkey feed. Or if you only have broiler pre-starter or broiler concentrate, you want to add extra soybean meal because they need the protein. They need a lot more protein compared to broilers. So that might be the problem that they don't grow very well.
Yeah.
Okay. About your beds, the turkey. You see, you said you are using broiler concentrate for the
Broiler starter.
broiler starter. Definitely that contain some chemical that takes care of toxin. And that chemical is not good for turkeys. So always, I'll get a name for you very soon. It is in our, we bring in broiler concentrate and that thing is in there. So if you are using a broiler concentrate for your turkeys, my brother, it will not help you. And some jumpers alone, almost it can't help us. And that chemical takes care of toxin. We'll get a name for you so that when going to buy any concentrate, you check if that thing is there.
Yes, that's a really good one of you. I didn't thought about it, but the broilers, they have coccidiosis and we put a thing in it against coccidiosis, but some of it might be toxic and some not. So always check which coccidiosis and whether it's toxic to the turkeys.
We'll pick 3 more questions, then answer them, pick another 2 so that I can start the second presentation. Madam Pastor.
Pastor, maybe say, meaning some kind of maybe say, sir, and I could go back to Fura. You bet me I will, and I will say, Kilo Senna, I could no waiting. Send the was saying, then you will also say, Basins I know, and yet they will say, Woman by I could only have you say. Yeah, you remember slaves. And you will say, you know, I see and you. And I have also made a son. We do say, again, you bet me there, and to be soon or what you do, and that boy who say, a better so many cries at home. Now come to baby say, your child may come more than and I see I'm no more than so woman and papa. And they be able to say a woman more sadly. It's sadly, the same body.
the turkey pork issue. The drug is called salidomycin, and it is found in most of the countries we have in Ghana, and it takes care of pox, but it's bad for turkeys. So when you own character Sally, so girlfriend will be Sally, no point to
Okay, but the second question was the weight of the birds. As said, it's different per breed. So this one is highline. You can see the body weight that they should have in this down. So at 10 weeks old, they should be 800, 900 grams. So you can see over the line how heavy they should be. But it's different for each breed. So always look at your own breed and search for the breeder's guideline. Then you know exactly the target weight which you should be.
Okay, let's see. The first one about vaccination. I'm going to say vaccinating now. No, but I shall do the science of say they are vaccinating and I say vaccinating. Think the first was they say if I know the vaccine, maybe some I confirm say my vaccination. If you are my marriage, or say I my way, or say I my window, or say I. And he said along the way, you go move this area. Then say. Ọmọ tí a lọ sàn yẹ ní ẹwà ní test yẹ kọfẹ mi sẹ ebi ẹ ma sẹ marix a na saa source na ọdẹ mu kọlẹ báyìí n'akọ wọn kí dà sẹ ọbẹ compensate for the best na sẹ ọdọ bẹ yẹ arrangement but most times ebi dùn ọsùn ebi a wà fìdí nkọkọ náà mọ ọmọ aduane abọ fìdí wọn kàn tí ọmọ àkọkọ kúrẹ bi ekura afẹ na wọsẹ bẹyẹ dẹ sẹ bẹ start ọmọ bẹyẹ yẹn. Intinka the best is that your farm you become so much sana ukwana grab and but ana say yeah marriage and say business na ye panel dey dey e be am so fa akokwana na do safa ne tiko sana be be one panel na ne kon sana go say as e hona so akakra ti enya kokko ba ko pe e bia basket no say ana box no say ko 80 the woman bet me be 10 we don't know to some other financial also feel bank kakra bi wo hono na kire say e dia dance say na wono panel hanti we box bia sana ngo go na wo my team say what check maybe I was very 10 na bia e go 1 or 2 pay there then you can call the person to verify say ampamo ya na mine na say na wo Inti o kana ono ye you know sure fine but later if it's a problem that we will sort out with the person. Oba hankwa dia e go amanya reporter. We go ko kan wase. Ana about weight no so say e sika no asem. Each stage bia weight and a breed bia when weight will do at each stage bia. Inti no say o measure weight now go say either say ko mo ye nketu ana say mo ye akese. If you tell me how to do it, I think most of that I prefer to say, we print out weight per week. You will charge you on I don't know, maybe a breakfast slice. Yeah, for the young. Osha go week be a weight also, if you know so deep. Weight also would. She said, I'm not going to do that. We won't sell guys and still feeding. So I'm not waiting to sort of one. I said, baby, you can cry. Yeah, yes, I see a 10 year better. Wait, what are those? My name is
I learned that some people manage this stress with ice block. They add ice block to the water of the animals. Is it good?
You put the ice blocks in the bed?
Yeah, in the water.
In the water. I haven't heard about that one.
around 21, 22 degrees. Fall below the ground. We're exposed to respiratory products. Who say really back our back and it one being in the way the right temperature in your mouth for them. Definitely will manage problems. What you say? It's when you see baby I won't make to the camera. But only to me my I know we take his stress. His stress there you may need vitamin C. And Madam can say we talk to find the idea everything away. It's more vitamin C, not really. And we went to our stress.
So a way to keep your water not too hot is to have something over it. So if you have the water in a black can or black bin, and then the sun, it's directly in the sun and it gets really hot. So if you put the water out of the sun, that will also help with temperature.
I said, as much as maybe as a farm with the kind of small scale, less than 2,000 days there, you can manage with that. I would not love 2,000, it's difficult to do that. Since I am saying yes, move a farm about the other thing you said, I bet farm fronts, and I said, well, their leaves. So they take that one, normally for the tank connection. So they replace it on the tank to prevent direct heat from getting to the water. But if they are still having put vitamins in the water, vitamins and vitamin C in the water, then they take it. And only the best option we have. But as much as possible, if you can put a roof over the things there and also one. And at this time as well, we make sure we limit feeding during the hot hours. And tomorrow feeding the power out of us. Now about a bread, a bread, and 3 open. So that you did the bedroom, 11 cocoa bed, you don't feed around them. Please, we'll pick 2 more questions. Next, my second is me and Chibi.
So the question of champions was interest for 5%. Now, and the money at the front, I'm the same. Because we use probiotic. Like,
Mr. Because next presentation on feed management.
okay.
It may just say, yeah, well, answer question, we put the question after the. See, I want you as number 1. You really know this our question. Please, any other question on the schoolet management? Then 1 more question, then we move on. Okay, he said. It is very well. You're going to go to the feed management. Then, but we are sure that there is a second presentation for the snacks and the back inside there.
Okay, the second presentation is about feed and nutrition management. So at first, also the goals of this presentation, then the feed formulation, the nutrition and disease resilience, the effect of nutrition. Then I'm going to talk about mycotoxins, and at last, I will say something about our NIR analyzer. So the goal of feed management is to optimize feed utilization to maximize health, production, and efficiency. But nutrition is just one of the many factors that determine egg production. We also have genetics, really important, that determine production. Then we have the feed management. We also have environmental factors. There are many environmental factors. These are just a few. We have climate, hygiene, water, and stress and welfare, and many more. These all determine egg production together. So never look at one factor, but the whole picture. So egg production is only as good as the weakest link in the system. Whether it is feed management, genetics, or any environmental factors, everything counts. If one is off, then you're wasting money on the others. You want everything to be in high quality. The feed formulation, this is an example of feed formulation. It says which ingredients you have to use, then the phases, and what nutrients contained in the feed. So this is just an example, but I will explain to you how I make this, why we do it like this. So the key factors in formulation is your production goals. For example, the production goals of growing meat, or producing eggs, or producing milk for a cow, it all has different goals, so you have to approach it differently. Also, the age and production phase is important for formulation. So we formulate in 7 different phases because in each age and in each production phase they have different nutritional requirements. We also have to look at the available raw materials and the price of those raw materials. So if we talk about nutrients, we talk about a molecule that can be absorbed by an organism. So the chicken will digest and absorb it, and they use it usefully by the animal. The nutrients are water, carbohydrates, fats, proteins. The proteins, they consist of amino acids. We also have vitamins and minerals. And animals require specific amounts of these nutrients. So feed formulation ensures that the feed is balanced. So if you look at the raw materials, which nutrients do they give? So these are the raw materials that give carbohydrates. And we have energy carbohydrates and we have fiber. So the ones that give energy are maize, wheat, and rice. For example, there are used ones in animal feed. And then the outer layer of those grains, the bran, they consist out of fibers. So they will contain less energy, more fibers. And we have the fats. These are really high in energy. It's also really good for egg production, but they are expensive. It's the oils, the vegetable oils, and then we have the proteins, and they are really the building blocks for production. So in this case, it's the building blocks for egg production. And you take them out of soybean meal, sunflower cake, or groundnut cake, or for example, palm kernel cake. I said proteins, they are built up out of amino acids. But we can also add amino acids separately, which are synthetically made. And the most important amino acids are lysine, methionine, and threonine. Then we have vitamins and minerals. They are catalysts for many metabolic processes. That means that they are the helpers in your body. Minerals, the most important ones for layers is calcium and phosphorus because they help in egg production and in eggshell formation. We can also add special additives like enzymes or pigments to color the egg yolk. So if you look at the concentrate, what Gemprex is importing to Ghana, to Frankatson, we import the right part. So we have synthetic amino acids in the concentrate, we have vitamins, minerals, and special additives. And also a part of the protein. So you still need to add more soybean meal, but there's already a part of protein in the concentrate. So we just learned what the layer hen develops in time. And that is why we have these different stages. Because we have to adapt to the potential of the animal. So in the first week, their potential is to develop strong digestive system, a strong immunity. So we have to give the right nutrients to get the potential out of them. That's why it's really important to use the pre-starter. So the development in the first week determines the egg production later in life, and the digestive is underdeveloped in the first week. But they need to absorb all these nutrients for the really high growth that they have right after the pre-starter phase. So the feed needs to be easy digestible and contain high nutrients. It's of major importance for their strong start. So that is why we have now pre-starter feed. So it has much benefits. It stimulates feed intake from the first hour onwards. It is because it's in pellet size. So the pellets are 2 mm wide, and this increases the feed intake because if they take one bite, they have the whole pellet, and they will have an increased feed intake in the first week. They have an early and high feed intake, and yeah, this is important for digestive development. Also, it looks and sounds attractive to the bird, especially when it is on chick paper that I just showed you. When you put it on the paper, they hear the sound and they're curious and they can find the feed really easily. It prepares them for future growth and egg production. The feed contains high digestible proteins, fats, essential nutrients. They enhance nutrient absorption and to overcome digestive problems. So I told you we add special additives. Those are enzymes that improve digestibility, and it is visible that they have benefits from it in the first week. It improves the development of the skeleton, of the bones, and it supports the development of the digestive tract. It also reduces mortality because they have all the right nutrients just in one feed. So it will improve your performance because it's highly digestible, it improves feed intake, they have a high daily gain with a low feed conversion ratio. That means that they can grow more with 1 kilogram of feed. And they will have a good health status and good uniformity. So the NACO pre-starter is a bit more expensive compared to the starter feed, but they only eat 100 grams in the first 5 to 7 days per bird. And any investment in a small amount of feed will have high return on investment. So you might think it's too expensive, but you get the money back later because they have this good development in the first week. And they don't even eat that much, so if you buy more expensive feed in this phase, it will really pay out later. So we have these different phases when before laying. We have the pre-starter, starter, grower, developer, and pre-layer. As said, we have to get full potential out of them. So that if they have the potential to develop bones, we have to supply the right nutrients so they can develop bones. We also have 2 different layer phases, and that is because in the layer 1, they are still growing their body size. So the body weight still goes up. So they don't only need energy for egg production, they also need energy for themselves to grow. And they also have this really high egg production in layer 1, so they need more energy. Well, in layer 2, the egg production goes down, but the egg size will be bigger. They will have bigger eggs, that also means bigger shells, and that means that they need more calcium in the feed. So that's why we also cut up the layer phase in 2 different phases, because they have other requirements of nutrients. Okay. So why do we actually make those concentrates? So I told you all the vitamins and minerals are in the concentrate. We already mix it because, as you can see, of each vitamin they need very little amounts. Vitamin K, they need 2 grams per ton of feed. Vitamin D, they need only 1 gram per ton of feed. So if you can see, 1 gram, it's only a droplet if it would be liquid. So it's only a very small amount. And they want to mix it evenly in 1 ton of feed, in 1,000 kilograms. So, and a chick, they only eat 15 grams of feed in the first few days. And all of the chicks will need all of the vitamins and minerals in the same amount. You don't want one chick to have vitamin K and the other ones to have vitamin D. They all need all vitamins. And a feed mixer, they cannot distribute the micro-ingredients properly. So that's why we supply it in a concentrate. We already mix it for you, and then you only need to mix the concentrate with the other ingredients of the feed, and then all chicks will have the right amount of vitamins and minerals in the feed. So what happens if there's a shortage of vitamins in the feed? The vitamins are the helpers in the body, so they can show very much a large number of problems when it's not enough in the feed. For example, vitamin D is really important for egg production. It's the support, the transportation of calcium to the egg. So if you have not enough vitamin D in the feed, the egg production will be lower. They also have thin eggshells, and they will have bone problems. So vitamin E, it really helps in heat stress. It's an antioxidant. So if there's not enough vitamin E in the feed, they will have a lot of problems with oxidation in the body. So these are the water-soluble vitamins. They also cause a lot of problems if it's not enough in the feed. For example, choline. It's an important vitamin for egg production too and for the liver function. So if there's not enough choline in the feed, then the liver function is not optimal and they will get fatty liver. And they will also have lower egg production. There's many more vitamins, many more products, they all have their own. But you can never tell if a problem is because of the vitamin, because there are so many problems with different vitamins. The same for minerals. There's many problems if the minerals is not present in the proper amount. So we already spoke about calcium being important for the eggshell. So if there's too less calcium, you have poor eggshell quality, poor hatchability, lower egg production, and they will also have bone problems. Also phosphorus, it works together with calcium to for formation of the eggshell. The calcium, it comes from limestone or marine shells, so that's why we put them in the layer feed. We already saw this picture. So when the feed is digested, it's absorbed into the bloodstream of the chicken. They can use the calcium in the blood, they can use it for eggshell production or for bone formation. And this is like a storage for calcium. So if they have enough calcium and they don't have the eggshell production, they store it in the bones. And then they can take it up from the bones later on to formate the eggshell. And that's also why we need the pre-layer feed. It's a transition between the pullets and the layer phase. So what we do is the pullets, they only need calcium for their bones because they don't lay eggs yet. And the layer, they need a lot of calcium for the eggshell and for their bones. So the pre-layer feed, the 2 weeks before they start laying, they can already have some extra reserve in their bones. So when they start laying, they can immediately take it from their bones and they have enough calcium ready. Then something about nutrition and disease resilience. So disease resilience, it starts with a good overall body function. And for that we need vitamins and minerals. They're essential for optimal function of the body. We need proteins to support a healthy growth and egg production. And we need energy to power all of these functions. There's also a direct pathway between nutrition and disease. So pathogens, they enter the body via different ways. It can be by ingestion and absorption in the gut, but also via inhalation in the lungs or via skin lesions. But the most bacteria, they get ingested and they multiply in the gut, and then they infect the animal. So if you look at this process, sometimes the bird cannot utilize all nutrients. For example, we now know that the three-layer birds, they have not the right digestive development yet. So they cannot digest some proteins. And if they get bad proteins that they cannot digest, the unutilized nutrients, they remain in the intestines. And the pathogens, they feed on these nutrients and they multiply. So instead of feeding your birds, you are feeding the bacteria in their gut. And the pathogens, like bacteria, they damage the intestinal wall. So if you look at this picture, you have the intestines of the chicken. If you zoom in on it, this is the intestinal wall. It has this like finger shape to take up all the nutrients. So on this side, we have the tube with the feed is going through. And on this side, you have the body of the chicken. If we zoom in on the cells, you can see the cells next to each other. And they are connected by tight junctions. So if the pathogen damages the intestinal cell, this breaks the tight junction. So here are bacteria, and they damage this link. That means that you have a leaky gut. And that means that any bacteria that are in the feed, they are growing from the undigested proteins, they can go right into the body of the chicken. So there's a direct way for bacteria to enter the body. So that's talking about the effect of nutrition on heat stress. So the energy that we put in the feed, it's not all used for production. So 30 to 60% of energy is used for maintenance and for basic functions and also for production. So they grow, they move, they breathe, they maintain their body temperature, they produce eggs. That's only 30 to 60%. So up to 70% is lost by heat. So you can compare it to a motor. So you have the movement that you want from the motor, but it also gives heat. What is the effect of heat stress? If the bird is not able to lose the heat, the body temperature will go up, the feed consumption will go down, the water intake will go up, their growth, their feed efficiency, their immunity, they will all go down. They have more diseases and infections, more mortality, and a lower actual quality. And the digestion of feed, it makes a lot of heat. It produces a lot of heat. So avoid feeding 4 to 6 hours prior to the hottest time of the day. So for example, if it's the hottest time of the day, 1 p.m., they should not feed until, like 7 a.m.? Because if you feed afterwards, the digestion of the feed will take place at the hottest time of the day. So you have double heat. You have heat from the weather and you will have heat from the feed digestion. But always feed every 12 hours. Otherwise, it's not good for the animal. This is not about the feed, but it's about stocking density. As you can see, there are many birds in one cage. and then they cannot expel their heat. And they will all get heat from their neighbor and from themselves, and they cannot get rid of the heat. So that's also a really important one for heat stress. And something about mycotoxins. So mycotoxins are toxic, and they are made by fungi or molds. And they are toxic to animals and humans. So fungi or molds, they are known to produce many types of mycotoxins. The most important ones in animal feed is aflatoxin, humonicin, ochratoxin, or DON. Have you heard of it? So each mycotoxin has its unique physical property and unique effect on animals. So it's really hard to see whether you have mycotoxins or not, because it has many effects. So some effects of mycotoxins are reduced growth, reduced hatchability, reduced feed conversion, weak bones and muscle structure, and they have an increased chance of disease. This of course brings economic effects. So mold decreases the feed value of your ingredients. Because if you have mold on your corn, for example, the mold, they already eat the corn before it can get eaten by the chicken. So the energy of the corn, it will go down. Also the quality of your eggs will decrease and your profitability will decrease. So mycotoxin is common worldwide and it's really difficult and costly to erase it completely. But it's not about protecting it 100%. It's about reducing the risk of contamination as much as possible. You want to reduce the mold formation, and that starts with good storage practices, the use of mold inhibitor, and the use of toxin binder. The toxin binder are feed additives that bind to a certain specific mycotoxin inside the intestine, and in this way the mycotoxin is not absorbed by the animal. We have the toxin binder called Sheltox. And usually an inclusion of 1 or 2 kilograms is enough to bind the toxins. But young animals, they might need extra support, and you can add 2.5 kilograms per ton. However, this is an insurance, it's not a medical cure, because it can only bind certain range of mycotoxins. You cannot bind all mycotoxins. You have different kinds, and Sheltox, they bind a few of them, so you know that those ones are absorbed. It's cost effective. It increases the feed cost, but it's also an increase in feed performance. But it only works if you also address the good storage practices. So if it's one program its own, you also need to do other things. So a summary about this presentation. Nutrition is not only one of the pillars, it's only one of the pillars that drive this production. We need to look at the whole picture. Your feed formulation makes sure that every nutrient is in balance. Nutritional needs, they change with age, and that's why we work in 7 different phases. What happens in the first phase that's the stage for lifetime production. Using a concentrate guarantees the right level of vitamins and minerals, and also that it makes within the feed. Avoid feeding 4 to 6 hours before the water starts per day to limit heat stress. And about mycotoxins, they are very common and they are hard to remove immediately. And good mycotoxin management prevents necessary losses and poor performance. So we have the NIR service. I can show it to you.
Oh.
Sorry.
So we have the NIR. It's this device. NIR stands for near infrared. So it's a light spectrum that's near infrared light. And it's an alternative for wet and chemical analysis. So instead of taking your feet to the lab or your raw materials, you can measure the nutrients by this device. So it's really fast, it's cheap, and it's also accurate. You don't need any sample preparation, and it's really fast, and it has a high sample throughput in that. So what you do is you can take your raw material or your feed, put it on a plate or even in the bag. You can put the NIR on it, and then with an app on your phone, you can see the nutrients that are in the feed or in the raw material. It's really easy to do, so everyone can do it. You don't need a specialized laboratory for it. And you can perform an unlimited number of tests. So this is how it works. You have the NIR scanner, you have your app on your phone, and then what comes out, you can immediately see it on your phone, or you can go to a website and get a full report. So already did it with a few farmers in here, and you can immediately see whether your wheat bran is higher or lower in fiber, whether the local soybean meal has enough or the same proteins as the imported soybean meal. So this is the report that comes out. It's a bit widened in shape, but you can see the moisture, the protein level, the fat, the ash, fiber, the starch. You can all see it, and you can also see the reference. So you can see that the moisture content is 11% and the reference is 12.5%. So you can see that the moisture, it's not too high in moisture, And then you can also see the poultry nutrient values out of it. So you can see the energy that it supplies to the layer, and you can also see the digestive protein, the phosphorus that's absorbable, also the lysine and the methionine values. This is an example of a raw material of a broiler feed. So you can also see the nutrients in it and the energy that will give it to the bird. So it's a tool to connect your production and your advice into one. So you have the feeds coming to your farm, your raw materials, and you can decide whether it's the good quality, whether it's the quality that you want, whether it's the quality that you paid for or not. So we have different calibration lines for the NER, so you can test certain raw materials and certain feed types. It's expanding every month, but now we have calibration lines for different grains like corn or barley. You can measure the corn byproduct, so the corn bran you can measure. Also the protein sources like palm kernel, like rapeseed, soybean meal, sunflower meal. And also animal protein. So if you have fish meal on your farm, you can scan it and you immediately know the protein content of it. We can also scan the complete feed. So we have broiler feed, layer feed, pig feed, pet food feed, ruminant feed. Also for the ruminants, you can scan the silage. So yeah, there's a lot of calibration lines, and it's expanding every month, so you only expect more. Okay, so now we come to the parts of the questions.
Okay.
Oh, you want to translate it first? Yes.
So before the questions, I will translate. But maybe at all, how long you snack maybe we budget nipa 160 in the register, but right now we've clocked 200. To be ceremonial, we are to go to the and I'm rushing for far. We start kind of lunch, so now what do you call? Let me tell you, it's really a nutrition and no and please can you go for it? And you might come once and be said, a quite fast as you say again. A Gianni, you are ma. A younger woman was one farmer, I get immediately at the back. Anna, a Gianni at the man, a Susan and so on, he stress. Anna, microtoxin, toxins, near come once. I'm a NRL analyzer. A machine, Abofona, or the Trebian in the swine, it's Mitchell said, a Gianno, protein in the room, carbohydrates in the room. If you're not saying you'll be pursued to be the animal beside the board, let's go for it. Go back. A today, American, in I said, sending out for the betting come on. Now, what you mean, I took us, you also come on, let's go for it. And the woman in here, and son, I'll cost you a tour about Kosovo, and I'll go to the come on. Environmental factors near a warning farm or near my Kosovo, and a feed management here. Feed management here, a Janano, send your Sifaso, send your Sifaso, your store, a Janano. The book of the sister, and the Cramo, and a genetics near breed, I could only breed now of a farm. Then I could only sit here farm, and it's an art to sit here farm. And he, I go to an Okofana, who said, not one or two goes jacket and get it all the time. Let's go for it. And he, and Rama said, a command. 8 years, I was 1 year. Because you are torn, and only the weakest link in the chain. Why we are going here? I will call Nagasa Omu. Abia, never be local soccer year, but because you are told a better apple. And a Janani share shame with her and said, a crime person at the far. Yabama, because you are torn at my island, Edgeland and also. enti akwan ya paso eye nduane no enti wo hwa ha se a ti se ne edi kan ye no edi kan ho asem no ya wo starter global developer pre-layer layer 1 layer 2 ya mfa obi aduane ma obi foforo enti wo hwa ha se na ya ba se starter no wo hwa protein na wo hia crude protein levels na 196 no grams 196 grams no hia no so wo pa starter na we wa gbe say wo person utu front no wo ye e di grow amana wa short no crude protein almost 10 grams e wa ha say is the same thing e kwa ni mu na sort it until you make sure say on fa e di akoko no say wo drew grower on go fa layer say no mpanyimfo ho na nketwa we bi o mo no so mo ye be 100 painting no ana mo ye 1000 painting ma me fa layer na bi mo mo ye sa pe wudi o ma bro bo say aduane no entimi enye ana ya ma so hwe pre layer na I want to any familiars. Okay. To hwe pre layer na energy akoko ni hia no 26.30 no. This is our command layer 2 a 2.25 next what so bebre nti de kire nyina wa ha ya twe bebre nyane se wo ye adwane na make sure say concentrate na use so use champesa this to say ya am de betima optimize feed no na ma feed no aye kama key factors of formulation the entire also be formulation so say abama wo kosu ato no etime di so pepper nti akoko no so di say ya no was all my Kusia, Sapepena, Ebay. Age of production phase, Intino, is that a kind? I don't know medical teaching, nutritional requirements, age biane, nutrition here. Yankon do 40 weeks, Yankofa, I will call the 20 weeks a journey farmer, and I said the 40 weeks a journey man. And a price of raw material, Intino. They tell you to Torebiana, Ebia, soya, and I said, be war iodine. Not a 70 for ship. Everything a day. App Diaba, your friend 123feed.com. You call up www.123feed.com. The one year so good, or the before for now, maybe our brother and also near. Would be the Shema. Now, boss Shema, we can register now, boss Shema. A better included to 2 formula and one we said, group protein. Yeah, you come about said, you will lay out your way into baby. I'm going to do the Shema, not the bowl ingredients, or better, send a visit. Enti we ya sure say ni ho asem dada nyoma ewo nnuane ni ye wo nsuo ye wo carbohydrates eno na mo manage no ye wo sade kakra eno so boa ana proteins ana minerals ne vitamins ni nyina de kire ne de nte wo so nyanya say minerals ne vitamins nti wo anya bia utinye deficiencies ye ma say vitamin deficiency akoko ba foforo na say wo afa vitamins antiti o one say nye glucose nkwa de titi akoko one for vitamins and tina most are going to go on most and nine as take kwa very kelly tools most and nine kwa sano one shall be say ebia ya on so bia so na vitamins ana onya akoko bo so almost in any after omonina start no I have be say we treat coryza but then your coryza na vitamin A deficiency ti adwan na ye be we say make sure say premise na we say the fra the vitamins no say the good show more ma ten bia you make sure say ya be den ya de be fra amom Then just go back. Okay. And we are breaking it down. Type of a year, it's me make carbohydrates, fiber. It be a bro, it be a wheat, it be a rice bran, wheat bran, maize. But you call my day, you send millet needs to be named. The account in a do of Tinina proteins, your soya bean, your sunflower, your encatia, between the catia soya, your fish, Nina, your source of protein, a guama, a janina, a bidim, and your catalyst to say vitamins, and not to the mechanical. They won't find you cry with the good shoe now they support your character, and your be to say amino acids like say name time and a different and that and also though I am a viewer eburo ni ebi wɔ soya ni ebi wɔ concentrate ni na de ba sɔre bi a ɛnam sɛ vitamins ni bi timi dissipate the way your store no wo store na dissipate ni ti no o we make sure say we be best supplement feed no na aboa oh control from go back no go for it, go skip all this no back go back okay forward enti the di kan ho asem we di kan ho asem dada ti wo hwɛ various stages na the enti aduane no nya so di formulation na chi na anu ne di kan yɛ no stage bia ne de we kwa de di kan de na hyehyɛ ti wo hwɛ baby a prestata na ho na ne nsuno ne yɛ ma de no wo hyehyɛ ana ne immunity no so building to where most times prestata ne level na ho na yɛ most of the first vaccines ne nuclear vaccine gumbo ne IB ne yɛ ni nyina o ko grower no so no na ne nkasa ne muscles no so no pagya wɔ hɔ efi tesu isi kɔ no ti wa anya wa bian ne sene a stage bi a be reflect a ya ma ne se odu grower still won fa cells and answer won fa die calcium on fresh and na aha se so na ne kasa ne muscles ne ba ti wa anya ne say you realize nkokɔ no ɔmo enye okay pa jo so ati ase nti ye di so sa pepepe nchechemu nti me pese be yetententi nti the development in the first week determine air production line ni say ye ti ka dada no akọ say ya be de be hya ase no ta no be ye di akọ awie ye garbage out nti o start no an hwe ni ya u be wi ase no na ye say akọkọ no wa ha no the digestive system is and the developing first week and the medical ka ho asem dada nti first week no yo also omunya more protein omunya more energy na omutimi build omo nyama nyina ye obi bi afre no na po prestata e wo nyane no nyina ye ne se e man kokọ no omo ye uniform ana aye ne pellet na aye ne kire se akokọ no obae no nyam aburo ni ayi de mo ma ebi obesoso aburo ni mpo ebi obesoso soya ni mpo an ti we de omo de afra ana ma pellet e bo ma akokọ no nyini ni ye fe kama ana eboa enyam ntentem akokọ ni timi twi nwane no ni firim ana e wo enza so eboa ma digestion ne koso ntentem nti enye bibia na akofa akokọ fofora ye de ma no litimi fa le ya aduane konkoma nketo ana eboa ma onyiri kama na eti ewuo so ewo nti we ne medical kama se bebre ewo eboa ma akokọ no mo ye uniform omutimi aduane na ade mo omutimi se omutimi convert ma omunyiri kama ewo ha na de wo bi se akokọ bia di 100 grams in the first week no bia odi 100 grams 1 week no enti se wo mia wani na auto prestata na de omoto so a ensafe anya kakese ema aha because you benefit from it in subsequent occasions. And the vitamins na se na make am e bi ni no ma twetwe an the required vitamins na da wa ha say no enti nka ye feed formulation wa nka we feed ni an ga do connect ya test we nyina ma ni ahwese but ene no kredie ni ho ene so ya ni bia ba no kra no sheda de ammonium akasa efra so ya no enti no o ko test for protein a o ba ko na protein wo soro ba na ya ammonium ko an mo depo so ya ni any Newcastle na baby a enti no the better ka nyina ne say do concentrate any feed na ye the vitamins are crafra but vitamins na say dissipate it no when you put them we are also bit me free in most times now so we supplementing with them but idea when they say champions there or would become until you will not see these deficiencies but then you also have to top up and I'm from one bank and near camp one on to two and you have to go to two and also technical